Hey guys, this is the video lesson for lesson 5.2, and you are going to learn about opposites and something called absolute value. So let's start with the vocabulary word opposites on the top. So opposites are numbers that are the same distance from zero in opposite directions. So if we go down here, opposites on here would be 2 and -2. They're both 2 units from zero, just to the left and to the right. So finding opposites is going to be pretty easy. So let me show you down here. In example 1, it says find the opposite of -5. Now, if you want to use a number line, here's what you do. You say, all right, -5 is 5 units from 0. So its opposite has to be the same distance from 0 the other direction, which would be +5. Now, the easier way is just to say the opposite of -5 is a +5. Now, remember, we don't write the plus sign when we write +5. We just say 5. In example 2, find the opposite of 4. Well, the opposite of 4 is a -4. All right, think positive is the opposite of negative. So this is a pretty easy concept. So I want you to do A and B. Pause the video, restart it when you're done. Go. All right, in A, what is the opposite of 3? I hope you said -3. And in B, what is the opposite of -2? I hope you said 2. All right, that's it for opposites. I told you it would be easy. Now, on the next page is where we talk about absolute value. So we're going to show you up here, because this is important. I'm going to highlight the definition here. So it says the absolute value of a number is the distance between the number and 0 on a number line. In other words, how far is that number from 0 on a number line? Now, using symbols, there's a new symbol you have to see here. So it's this right here. Whenever you see these two lines around a number, this is how you read it. The absolute value of 4. That's how you read that sentence. Now, to think of what is the absolute value of 4, it's, well, how far away is 4 on a number line? It's 4 units away, so the absolute value of 4 is 4. Now, so what's the absolute value of -4? Well, that's also 4, because a -4 is 4 units away from 0, just in the other direction. Now, here is something that you must always understand about absolute value. Absolute value is always positive. All right? Now, let's go down to example 3. So first, I'm going to show you how to read this question. This says, evaluate the absolute value of -7. Okay? And the absolute value of -7 is 7. It's just how far away is a -7 from 0 on a number line. Now, in 4, they make it a little more complicated. They turn it into a math problem. It says evaluate. Watch how I read this, guys. Evaluate the absolute value of 5 plus the absolute value of -6. All right. So when I solve these, this is what I do. I know the absolute value of 5 is 5 plus the absolute value of -6 is 6. Think about it for a second. 5 is 5 units away from 0 on a number line. -6 is 6 units away from 0 on a number line. So once I rewrite it, I just solve it. 5 plus 6 is 11. Now in example 3, do it with me. It says evaluate. Watch how I read this. Evaluate the absolute value of -7 minus the absolute value of 3. So let's start by finding the absolute value of 7. The absolute value of, the absolute value of -7. The absolute value of -7 is 7. Notice we keep the minus sign. And the absolute value of a +3 is 3. And 7 minus 3 is 4. That's it. Now, I want you to try C, D, and E. Now, for D, I want you to rewrite the problem below by finding the absolute value of those numbers. So you'll see when I go over it. Do C, D, and E, pause the video, start it when you're done. Go. All right, so let's see how you did. In C, the absolute value of 14 is 14. Done. Easy. D, the absolute value of -9 plus the absolute value of 3. Well, let's rewrite the problem. The absolute value of -9 is 9. Bring down your plus sign. The absolute value of 3 is 3. And 9 plus 3 is 12. Okay, by the way, don't get absolute value mixed up with opposites. Some people say the absolute value of 3 is -3. No. That's opposite. Absolute value is never negative. Keep that in mind. All right, let's go to problem E. So in this one, you have to find the absolute value of negative 8 is 8, minus the absolute value of negative 2 is 2, and 8 minus 2 is 6. All right, one last problem we're going to go over, and this one is very similar to one that nails people on the Chapter 5 test. So, watch how I read this and watch how I solve it. It says, a seagull is flying 25 feet above sea level. Nevaeh is diving 15 feet below sea level. What is the distance between Nevaeh and the seagull? All right, so here's what I want you to think of. I'm going to draw a pretty little picture, so I'm going to pause it and draw my picture. Okay, so here's my beautiful artwork. So let me label some stuff here. The seagull is 25 feet above the sea level. So, by the way, my seagull, I know it looks like a butt. That's okay. But the seagull is 25 feet above sea level. So think of that as positive 25. Nevaeh is diving 15 feet below sea level. So think of where Nevaeh is as a negative 15. Now, this is tricky because when it says, what is the distance between Nevaeh and the seagull? Here's what you have to do. Think of this as a number line right here. Okay? Sea level represents 0 on a number line. Now, the distance between the seagull is going to be, and 0 is going to be 25 feet. The distance between Nevaeh and the sea level is going to be 15 feet. So to find the total distance, if you want to know how far away is Nevaeh from the seagull, you have to add these two amounts. And 25 plus 15 is 40. So they are going to be 40 feet apart. Now let me show you how you could have written an absolute value addition problem for this. So the seagull is 25 feet above sea level, right? So that means it's 25 feet away from 0, or the absolute value of 25. Now Nevaeh, we have to add her distance from sea level, is 15 feet below sea level. So what we're really doing here is we're adding the distance that the seagull is plus the distance that Nevaeh is from sea level. And if we solve that like we did on the previous page, the absolute value of 25 is 25, plus the absolute value of negative 15 is 15, and you would get 40, which is our answer. Now, that's tricky. The diagram might help you, or maybe it doesn't, or maybe writing an absolute value problem will help you. But that one, there is one like this on your test, and it tends to trick people. Anyway, you're done with me in the video, so if you were absent, I'm sure you've got some problems down below that you have to do. If you have any questions, please ask me for help. Thanks, guys.